Hello there, good to see you and thank you for clicking. Now on this new video, we are looking at the most popular money habit that keeps Kenyans broke. It's quite popular that you'll meet Kenyans out there wakisema, oh hakuna pesa, oh sijui ilienda ikawa, nililipwa I don't know 2 weeks ago, I do not have money in my pockets, I don't know exactly what's going on. And guess what? Probably these some of the habits are actually affecting you out there. How about you sit down, relax and watch this video to the end so that you understand, okay, ni popular gani hizo habits huwa zina keep Kenyans broke? Because that's what exactly I'm gonna share with you. But before I tell you that, guess what? I always post a video each and every day. So if you don't want to miss any good of my videos in future, do this. Doesn't cost you anything. It is free of charge. Down below there on your right, there is a button, a very small button written subscribe. It is in black. Hit that magical button, turn that notification bell and like this video. And guess what? By only doing that, a whole YouTube will notify you whenever I upload a new good video. So how about we get into today's business? I don't want to waste you most of your time, all right? Let's get into it. Okay, so I've actually arranged all these points in point form. So I'm going to go bit by bit explaining exactly what does it mean and the remedy of that. Meaning, like, what exactly can you do so you don't fall a trap or you don't fall into the trap of exactly that. Number one, of course, I know you are seeing it on my board. It's ignoring budgeting. If there is something that I always talk about like millions times, maybe let's make this one 1,000,001 time. I always insist on budgeting. And I do not know why majority of Kenyans tend to think like budgeting only applies when you earn a lot of money, or probably budgeting applies when you are wealthy. That is not the truth. That is more stereotypical than it is an actuality. So the point is this: what is budgeting? Budgeting is simple, in a very simple terms, by the way. And I always give a very simple analogy. Like, for example, if today I tell you, hey, we are going to Nanyuki, and let's meet there at some period of time. Definitely there's a route that you're gonna follow to go to Nanyuki. Take that very simple example. What if you maybe a Ugandan and I tell you, for example, you're a Kenyan, you don't know a place called Mbalala, and I tell you, let's go to Mbalala in Uganda. Probably you ask me, okay, fine. I may know how to get out of Nairobi to the border, but I don't know how to go from the border to the Mbalala because I don't have the route. You see, most of the Kenyans know exactly where they want to be, but they do not know how to go about it. It's like you know very well you have the dream, but how to execute that dream or going towards your dream is where the problem comes in. The same case happens to money. Money shows up, money comes to your place, you do not have a budget. So whenever you do not have a budget, money tends to be idle, and then you can do anything with that specific amount of money. Even if you're earning 5K at the end of the month, it's good to plan for 5,000 so that when the money shows up to your doorstep, you can tell your money, hey, you know what, 2K I want you to go towards this, 1K go towards this, 2K, whatever, that kind of a language, right? It's the only language that money understands. Probably you've ever heard me talking about this. Allow me kindly to repeat it again and again and again, because it has never changed. It is still the place. So stop ignoring the budget. And by the way, for myself, I always consider 3 things. If you can only achieve these 3 things, hizo zingine fanya venye unataka kufanya. What are these 3 things? Number 1, make sure that you pay your rent. Of course, because you need to live somewhere. Number 2, make sure you've done your savings. And number 3, make sure that umekula. Ukitaka kutumia hizo zingine venye unataka, it's okay, you're gonna do anything you want to do with your money. Provided you do your rent, you do your savings, and you do your food. I'm done. With that, I'm good to go. Whatever you're gonna do with the rest of the money, it's okay and it's up to you. That's how we do it. All right. So now the point is, stop ignoring the budget. I gave you a very simple analogy of a very simple rule that is called 50-30-20% rule. Actually, you can check out on my previous videos and you can see exactly how I explained how you're supposed to use that rule in saving of your money or managing your money. All right, so let's go to the next one. I know you do not have time and you want to know all other 5 points. So the point is, stop ignoring the budget. Number 2 is about mobile loans to fund your consumables. You know what? This is a thing that I've actually, let me tell you one secret. I always receive calls, yeah? I always receive calls about the financial things and what have you. And by the way, if you'd like to contact me, my number is on the description of this specific video. Yeah, if you want any booklets about personal finance, about money, investments, and anything, grab that number, have a conversation with me. Anyway, so the point is, the most of the calls that I usually receive from my clients, it's all about, hey, you know what, Joseph, I'm on unhealthy debt, whereby I have like multiple, loaning app that I've actually taken loans and I do not know even what I can do. This is my salary. I don't know how I can even service all these loans, and I'm getting myself into a problems and challenges. I don't know how I can get. It's quite a popular challenge or a problem from Kenyans actually that I do receive each and every day. And what I came to realize is this: because these loans are actually advertised each and every time. If you just go to the Play Store, you can just download a couple of them, and then you install them. Give them access to your contact, your everything and anything, and then the next minute they give you a loan like 5k, 10, 15, depends with your credit score. Now at that particular point, now you get yourself in a situation whereby you have like 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10 of them. So you do not even know how to get yourself out of that cocoon. And that loan that you were taking, it was not about investing. There is nothing wrong with taking loans, by the way. It's an amazing way of growing yourself. But now these loans that you're taking is to fund the consumables. What do I mean by funding the consumables? You're taking those loans to pay your rent. You're taking those loans to buy unga. You're taking those loans to buy your shoes. You're taking those loans to pay school fees. All those are consumables. They are things that do not generate income. At the end of the day, you'll be on the losing end. You know why? First of all, they are very expensive because they are commercial loans, meaning that you're going to pay a lot of interest at the end of the day, at the end of the agreed period. And that money you never direct it towards an investment. First of all, that there is nothing like cash flow. This money is not generating you nothing. And the time you did borrow that money, you borrowed probably because you do not have a job. So, and then you quote unquote promise them that you're going to pay them in future. So you consumed the future you. And the future you is determined by the current you. The current you do not have a job. So probably you even playing what we call like, you aren't even sure about the future you will have a job to get the money to repay back that loan. And it's not only that loan, on top of that, there is an interest. So you see how you get yourself into a murky waters. And then instead of you realizing, hey, you know what? I'm already on a ditch. How am I going to get out of this? You keep on digging. By doing what? You download another app, you get the loan, you repay the previous app, and then there you are. It's like you keep on doing in that ring. You get yourself into thing we call a rabbit hole, or simply a rat race. You never get yourself out of that. And what I've realized is this: either we operate under ignorance, or number two, we operate under what we call financial illiteracy. And you better be financially illiterate than being ignorant, because you're being ignorant, it becomes a point that whereby, yes, you may know that you're not doing the right thing, but you're not ready to be told. All right, and that character I've actually seen with a lot of people. Yeah, I know probably where you're now reading this point. You're like, okay, fine. You know what, Joseph? We are doing so because we don't have alternatives. I fully understand, and I agree with you. Totally agree with you. People are saying that people are facing tough times. I totally agree, but that is not to open a leeway and say, hey, you know what? Just because we are facing tough times, we should not be financially literate. We should not apply some of the rules and regulations that are required as far as the money is concerned, because you're going to dig the ditch more further, and we're going to get yourself into problems. So the point is, I understand. As much as I do understand, let me just allow me to tell you the truth. You see, just because I understand does not mean I should not tell you the truth. That's the truth. I wish I can have another way of telling you, but that's the truth. Anyway, let's go to the point number 3. Sherehe weekends as always. Yeah, this is a thing that is so much common with Kenyans. They say, kuchapa sherehe, life is for the living. I don't know, all those kind of things. I don't know, nikisave, nikufe, and all those kind of things. So especially this thing is kind of, so much pronounced with young guys who are saying, hey, there's no need of savings and what have you. So the point is this: well, there's no problem with you having the sherehe. Sherehe only comes, or should come, should I say, it must come after you've actually dedicated your money towards your savings. You've dedicated your money towards the normal utilities, likes of the electricity, the water, the house, the food, what have you, the school fees and what have you. So once you've actually seen all those loopholes, what's left behind, you can do anything you want to do with it. And that's why I said at the genesis of this specific video, I said it is good to make sure that at least you achieve your savings, do your house rent, do your food. Whatever you're going to do with the rest of the money, you're good to go. Say like you set aside like at least 20% of your income towards your savings. You've paid your rent and you have your food in the house. Then you go squander that money however you want to do it. Provided don't go back and touch your savings. And that's why I always advise people, put your savings on an area whereby you cannot be able to achieve it. And people tend to confuse these things. Allow me to break it to you. Or for you. Now, first of all, you're supposed to understand one thing. There is saving. Saving is what you do, you set aside, you accumulate your money to invest in future. Number 2, there's what we call the emergency fund. This is the money that you put aside in liquid form, not on the purposes of investing. It's a money that you can access, to cater for that emergencies that can happen, such as disease, sickness, and all those kind of things, accidents and emergencies, all right? Number 3, there's what we call the sinking fund. The sinking fund is basically the fund that you set aside, or you anticipate that after a certain period of time a need will arise, and this kind of, it's like you impregnating your wife, and then at the end of the 9 months, of course, by God willing, then she'll be giving birth, you'll have a new kid in town, and you have a brand new kid and all those kind of things. So some things are expected of you. So if you set a money aside for the purposes of that we call a sinking fund, you can anticipate after a certain period of time you'll be able to do exactly that. So you're supposed to understand how to put your money, save your money, manage, and as well invest, because at the end of the day, saving is not the point. See, saving is not, nobody has ever become rich by savings. You save, meaning you accumulate, you store, then you take that money, you invest it to make baby monies, and that's how you grow yourself. That's how you do it. Very simple. By the way, it's not a complicated mathematics. Let's keep on doing this thing. The fourth one is the black tax. Probably you've ever heard of this thing, me talking about it, or maybe it's the first time you're hearing of black tax and you're like, what's black tax? I've never heard of that thing. So black tax is basically you helping your, say, your siblings, your parents, your mothers, your fathers, your cousin, your whatever, those kind of individuals. And actually this is a thing that you find it more pronounced with families whereby they are not as fortunate, and then you realize there is that individual who, quote unquote, is blessed, and that individual you find like they're like the fortunate ones. So this guy is entitled to educating their siblings, the brothers and the sisters, paying the food to their parents and what have you. It's really a thing that is affecting a lot of Kenyans. I would lie about that, and a lot of them do call me and tell me, hey, you know what, I'm in Gulf, I'm working, I'm getting X and X amount of money at the end of the month. But guess what, Joseph? I haven't even saved anything. I've been in this place for the last 3 years. I don't know exactly what we should do, because it's a thing out there, and probably when you wake up your head and talk about this thing face to face and say, hey, you know what, we shouldn't do this, and then people are like, hey, we don't talk about that. But the reality is black tax is really harming people out there. So you guys, you better be careful about that thing, right? It's actually keeping people broke. So what I can say is this: whenever you're budgeting, you see, now it all goes back to the budgeting. You see now what's happening here? It all goes back to the budgeting. So if you can actually budget your money, accommodate all these eventualities, likes of the black tax, likes of the emergency sinking and what have you, you won't even act surprisingly. That's the reality. And maybe you can set a certain amount of money aside and say, hey, guess what? This 10K I'm setting in aside, this is the maximum amount of help that I can be able to help them. Let them know. Let them understand. Probably you rub shoulders at the beginning, but as time goes, they will either understand or not understand you. That's the reality. The last one but not the least is that greed na pesa ya haraka. It's true. Kenyans, and by the way, I'm actually preparing a video why most Kenyans get scammed easily. So it's because of the greed na pesa ya haraka. If you tell Kenyans, hey, let's do the conventional way of investing. Probably if I came here and I talk about a funny app somewhere you can keep your money and get your money every day, probably this video will get millions of views, because most of the Kenyans don't want to apply the rightful way or rightful procedure to get their money in a legit way. They just want to go there, press buttons, and then the next minute, the next month, they're flossing with money, cars, and what have you. And that's why they fall into the trap, because majority of the guys, they know exactly this is the blood, this is the attitude of Kenyans towards money. So you're supposed to be very careful whenever you engage yourself in such kind of a thing. So I always say this. Yes, I understand at times you can actually be lucky and make money, a lot of money, should I say, in a short period of time. But in most cases, that is not surely the thing. See, wealth is intentional. You do things, you do what we call the input, and then you expect an output. So that's the point. So all those things are the ones that actually keep majority of Kenyans broke. And I've actually given you the remedies or exactly what you're supposed to do. Just like I said at the, in between this video, I said you can grab my number from the description of this video, give me a call. I offer those services for just a cup of coffee, or you can grab my booklets for only 280 Kenyan shillings. Anyway, for now, it's a goodbye, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button, comment down below, tell me what you think. For now, it's a goodbye. See ya.